A paixão por pedalar quilómetros e quilómetros leva-o a bater recordes em todo o mundo. Um deles foi em Portugal, na Estrada Nacional 2, de sul a norte, em apenas 24 horas. No Centro Desportivo desta semana, recebemos o ultraciclista australiano Thompson na primeira pessoa.
First started cycling sort of on a proper race bike when I was 13, and that was, I actually started as a triathlete, so I was also running and swimming. And for me at the time, I was struggling with depression, and the swimming, the cycling and the running gave me like a purpose every day. And I soon got to the point where I didn't enjoy the swimming and I didn't enjoy the running, and it was the cycling that I stuck with. So it's been 19 years now. I did take a break from when I was around 17, 18 to 21, 22. And during this period I was studying, and I actually went down a very difficult path with drug addiction and spent some time in rehab. And then when I came out, my dad said, why don't you get on a bike again? And I guess the rest is sort of history. I came to Visio, I've been here for a week, and previous I was in Ericeira for a week. And my idea was that I wanted to come to Portugal and basically explore what the roads are like for cycling. And I'd been here earlier in the year to do the National 2 road, and really enjoyed the cycling and what Portugal had to offer from a cycling point of view. And I figured, why not come back and spend the sort of second half of the season getting to know it a little bit better. So I went to Caramulo, and then I've sort of just used the GPS on my computer, the Wahoo, to basically go and explore. And the roads are so quiet and there's no traffic. And yeah, actually next week I'm doing Centro Desportivo, the 6 different roads. So it's about 400 kilometres with 11,000 metres of elevation gain. And the idea is to try and showcase that area as well. The type of riding that I do is different to, I guess, the Tour de France riders. So while I rode the Tour de France this year, I did it with my own twist. And my idea was, why don't we see what's possible at the Tour de France from an ultra cycling point of view? So I gave the Tour de France a 10-day head start. And then I actually set off and rode the Tour de France, basically 2 stages a day, with the idea of beating the pro peloton to Paris, and managed to achieve that goal. So while I rode the Tour in half the time of the pro peloton, I am a different type of rider to the riders in the pro peloton. It was like winning the Tour de France in my own way, yeah. All of the challenges have been difficult in their own sort of specific way. And actually one of the challenges I found the most difficult was when I did the N2 record earlier this year. And we had horrific weather, and I had some issues with the food I was eating, and it just turned out to be a really long, brutal day on the bike. And while the Tour de France was a 10-day event and the 7-day world record was a 7-day event, actually the 1-day event I found was really difficult, because you only sort of had 1 day to do what you wanted to do. And if you fell behind, there was no chance to sort of catch back up. So yeah, the N2 record was probably up there with one of the hardest. There's pros and cons to doing what I do, and I'm very lucky to be able to ride a bike for a living. And I guess that is probably the biggest pro, that I don't go to an office, I get on a bike and I go for a ride. And it's my work and it's my hobby, so at times it's a little bit blurred. I guess the biggest con would be, it's difficult for me to pick a con, but I would say, yeah, I have to be quite strict with what I do, and I'm quite focused and quite obsessive with it. The riding the bike is definitely an obsession, and like I know I need to rest, and I know every week I have one day where I need to rest, but the next day when I get on the bike, I feel strange because I haven't been on the bike, and you know, if I could have it my way, I'd like to ride every day if I could, and sort of, you know, it just keeps my mind at ease and it keeps me sort of satisfied, and I feel like I'm achieving something. My end result is achieving something on the bike, and so the sense of satisfaction I get when I achieve something is, you know, that's sort of what I thrive on. And at the same time, like all of the films we've shot have had a sort of second storyline which relates back to mental health or freedom, or so there's that sort of secondary message that I enjoy sharing with people. And to be able to combine like my love of cycling and sharing the message is, yeah, it's like, that's why I keep pushing myself. It's not that crazy. So on a typical day, maybe 3 hours on the bike, but then leading into an event, it might be 10, 12 hours on the bike. But it's obviously sort of coming into an event I'll do more, and then after an event I'll do less. And yeah, there's some blocks that are mammoth blocks and I'll do 70 hours on the bike in a week. And then there's other weeks where it's quite relaxed and I might do 15 or 20 hours a week on the bike. For me, there's that sense of achievement when you get to the top of the climb, then you enjoy the descent, and it's, I'm not like a typical cyclist shape. I'm a little bit bigger and I'm not sort of super skinny. So it's sort of probably a little bit obsessive with the eating just because I am a little bit bigger already. So I'm, you know, anyone that knows me would, you know, I'm always thinking, oh, I can't have that or I shouldn't have that. But I guess at the end of the day, like it's my job, I have to be in good shape, I have to perform, and you know, if I'm carrying 5 extra kilos, that's like me carrying an extra bike up a climb, so I've got to be careful with it. I guess my idols are guys that I sort of looked up to growing up because they inspired me to get on a bike. Like it or not, like Lance Armstrong was always a guy that I looked up to growing up, and you know, there's guys like Simon Gerrans in Australia and Australian riders, Mitch Docker, and guys that I've now sort of become friends with and ride with. And you know, while they race professionally, I still look up to them because, you know, they're the guys that got me on the bike to begin with. And then there's also inspiration in other sports, like in surfing and skating, and you know, I like the idea of trying to blend cycling with a more mainstream sport like surfing or skating. And so there's inspiration from all over. Which country is the biggest lover of cycling? Belgium or the Netherlands? Like that's the national sport there, and it's like a cyclist walking down the street is like a soccer player walking down the street in you know, Spain. Like they're superstars there, and yeah, I think cycling plays a big part of their lives. But I think, to be honest, like the cycling here in Portugal, like the opportunity for people to travel here and cycle, and it's pretty hard to beat. And you know, you guys have got some amazing landscapes, you've got amazing weather, it's easily accessible, it's close to the beach, and you know, I'd like to think that, you know, more people would come to Portugal and cycle as opposed to travelling to Spain and Italy and France. Yeah, I'd like to think I'll be back here more next year.
Ficamos a conhecer a história de quem procura superar-se todos os dias em cima de uma bicicleta. Thompson, numa entrevista exclusiva no Centro Desportivo desta semana.